From trash to treasure DIY composting. Hey there, eco-warriors! Welcome back to Don't Do This Guide. Today we're diving into a super exciting topic that's all about turning your kitchen scraps into black gold for your garden. Yes, you heard that right. We're talking about composting. Now I know what you're thinking. Composting? Sounds complicated and smelly, but trust me, it's way easier than you think. And when done right, it shouldn't smell any worse than a fresh pile of dirt. Plus, think of all the good you'll be doing for the planet. Did you know that Americans throw away about 30 to 40% of their food supply each year? That's over 133 billion pounds of food ending up in landfills. But what if I told you that you could transform all that waste into something incredibly valuable? Stick around to learn how you can start DIY composting right at home. Composting 101. What's the deal with decomposition? All right, before we get our hands dirty, let's break down the basics of composting. In the simplest terms, composting is like nature's own recycling system. It's the process of breaking down organic materials, like your food scraps and yard waste, into a nutrient-rich soil amendment that gardeners call black gold. But how does this magical transformation happen? Well, it's all thanks to an army of microscopic helpers, bacteria, fungi, and other microorganisms that break down the organic matter. Think of them as tiny recyclers with huge appetites. They munch on your kitchen scraps and yard waste, breaking them down into simpler compounds. As these tiny decomposers do their thing, they generate heat, a lot of heat. In fact, a hot compost pile can reach temperatures of 130 to 160 degrees Fahrenheit. That's hot enough to kill off harmful pathogens and weed seeds, making it safe and beneficial for your garden. These busy little decomposers also need oxygen to survive. The right mix of ingredients, along with moisture and aeration, creates the ideal environment for decomposition to work its magic. Why compost? The amazing benefits of black gold. Okay, so we've covered the basics of composting, but why should you even bother? Well, get ready for a list of benefits that'll make you want to start composting today. First and foremost, composting is like hitting the environmental jackpot. It significantly reduces the amount of organic waste going to landfills, which is a huge win for our planet. When food scraps and yard waste decompose in landfills, they produce methane, a potent greenhouse gas that contributes to climate change. By composting, you're diverting that waste and preventing harmful methane emissions. Composting also helps conserve water. Compost-enriched soil acts like a sponge, holding onto moisture more effectively than regular soil. This means you won't have to water your plants as often, saving you precious water and money. Compost is like a magic potion for your garden, enriching the soil with essential nutrients that plants crave. Not only does compost provide nutrients, but it also improves soil structure. DIY composting. Let's get this compost party started. All right, composting enthusiasts, are you ready to roll up your sleeves and get this compost party started? Don't worry, it's easier than you think. Let's dive into the step-by-step process of setting up your very own composting system. First things first, you'll need to choose a composting method. There are a few different ways to compost at home, but two popular options are 1. Compost bin. These are enclosed containers that help keep your compost contained and tidy. You can buy pre-made bins or get creative and build your own using recycled materials like pallets or plastic totes. 2. Compost pile. This is a more traditional method where you simply create a pile of organic materials directly on the ground. It's a great option if you have more space and want a low-maintenance approach.
Once you've chosen your composting method, it's time to gather your materials. Remember those green and brown materials we talked about earlier? You'll need a good mix of both for a successful compost pile.
So, you've embarked on your composting journey, but things aren't going quite as planned? Don't worry, even the most experienced composters encounter a few bumps along the way. Let's tackle some common composting problems and find solutions to get your compost back on track. Problem number 1, my compost pile smells like rotten eggs. This pungent aroma usually indicates an imbalance in your compost pile. Too many green materials like food scraps and grass clippings can create an anaerobic environment lacking oxygen, leading to stinky sulfur-reducing bacteria taking over. To fix this, add more brown materials like dry leaves and shredded paper to increase aeration and balance out the nitrogen levels. Problem number 2. My compost pile is attracting unwanted guests like pests. Ah, the classic battle of the compost bin. Fruit flies, rodents, and other critters are attracted to the food scraps in your compost. To deter these unwelcome visitors, make sure to bury your food scraps deep within the pile, at least 6 to 8 inches below the surface. You can also try using a compost bin with a secure lid to keep pests out. Problem number 3. My compost pile is bone dry and not decomposing. Just like us, those hardworking microorganisms in your compost need water to survive. If your compost pile is too dry, it will slow down the decomposition process. Give it a good watering, aiming for a moisture level similar to a wrung-out sponge. Remember, you want it moist, not soggy. Problem number 4. My compost pile is soaking wet and smells like vinegar. On the flip side, a compost pile that's too wet can also spell trouble. Congratulations, composting champions! You've nurtured your compost pile with care, and now it's time to reap the rewards of your hard work. Beautiful, nutrient-rich compost. But how can you tell when your compost is ready to use, and what's the best way to harness its magic in your garden? First things first, let's play compost detective and determine if your black gold is ready for action. Finished compost should have a dark, crumbly texture, resembling rich, earthy soil. It should smell pleasant like the forest floor after a rain shower and no longer resemble the original materials you added. If you can still identify food scraps or yard waste, give it a bit more time to decompose. Once your compost has reached this magical state, it's time to unleash its power upon your garden. Here are a few ways to use your finished compost like a pro. 1. Top dressing. Spread a 1 to 2 inch layer of compost over your garden beds in the spring or fall, gently working it into the top few inches of soil. This will provide a slow-release fertilizer throughout the growing season, improve soil structure, and boost your plants' overall health. 2. Potting mix amendment. Give your potted plants a nutritional boost by mixing compost into your potting soil. Aim for a ratio of 1 part compost to 3 parts potting mix. This will help retain moisture, improve drainage, and provide essential nutrients for happy, healthy houseplants. Alright, compost aficionados, you've mastered the basics of composting and learned how to troubleshoot common problems. Now, let's delve into some pro tips to help you become a true compost whisperer, maintaining a healthy and productive compost pile year-round. 1. Location, location, location. Choose a well-drained location for your compost pile or bin, preferably in a shady spot to prevent excessive drying. Remember those hardworking microorganisms? They prefer a comfortable environment, just like us. 2. Size matters. Aim for a compost pile or bin that's at least 3 cubic feet in size. This will help retain heat and moisture, creating the ideal environment for decomposition. 3. Keep it balanced. Maintaining the right balance of green and brown materials is crucial for a healthy compost pile. Remember the golden ratio: 3 parts brown materials to 1 part green materials. This ensures adequate carbon and nitrogen for those busy decomposers. 4. Chop it up. Break down large materials like branches and twigs into smaller pieces to speed up decomposition. Smaller pieces have more surface area for those microorganisms to feast upon. 5. Moisture is key. Keep your compost pile consistently moist, like a wrung-out sponge. Water it regularly, especially during dry periods. Remember, those tiny decomposers need water to thrive. 6. A breath of fresh air. Turn your compost pile regularly, at least once a week, to aerate the pile, distribute moisture evenly, and prevent anaerobic conditions. And there you have it, folks. With these tips, you'll be on your way to creating rich, valuable compost for your garden. Not only will you reduce waste, but you'll also be contributing to a healthier planet. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe to Don't Do This Guide and hit that like button. Share your composting experiences in the comments below. Happy composting!